I think if you were here last week, I think Bill and I may have set a record for longest roundtable discussion, and that is all thanks to Bev. So we give her all the credit for that. I'm hoping that my message today will be mercifully shorter than that one. For some time now, Karin and I have been aware that our season of leadership at New Day has been winding down. And that's not a secret. We've, at least since 2019, have been contemplating seriously what that actually would mean for us. And at the beginning of this year, I sat down to engage the board around where we were at and what that would mean. And they listened very graciously, and they were super supportive. I have to say, I hear lots of stories of pastors from different churches who have really contentious relationships with their boards, and that's never been my experience at New Day. We have a lot of great leaders on and off the board, and I'm so thankful for that. But they were super supportive, and they encouraged us to take the month of July off to go and rest and to come back with an end date in mind of when we thought we would be stepping down out of leadership. And so that's what we did. We went and we talked and we prayed and we cried and we sought out trusted voices, and then we cried some more. I don't remember the last time that I've cried as much as I have in the last few months thinking about all this. And through this agonizing, slow discernment process, we came to the conclusion that the end of January 2025 will be when we step down. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute, because I know that's a lot to take in, and it's a lot to say. So, whatever feelings or reactions are bubbling up for you right now is totally all allowed and understandable. Karin and I have cycled through, I think, all the stages of grief multiple times over the last few months in thinking about this, because we just love New Day. We just love you guys so much.
We know it. We love you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Now you might be wondering, niggling in the back of your head, okay, what's the real scoop here? What's the real story? You know, there's got to be some scandal, or the board's pushing them out, or got some big job offer somewhere. It's really none of those things. It's not that interesting, really. It's 22 years of accumulation of the weight. And, we've just been keenly aware more and more of our own limitations, and the great need that New Day has moving forward for younger, new energy, and just a sense that it's time for us. You know, I talked with David Summerfield a few months ago. I saw Maria somewhere. Oh, yeah. I talked with David Summerfield when he was getting ready to retire after 39 years at Penske, and I was just kind of asking, how did you know when it was time? And he said, when you know, you know. And I think that's probably as good of an explanation as I have for this. It just was something that we knew. I'm a very slow deliberator, in case you didn't know that already. Unfortunately for Karin, this woman is a saint for her patience with me. But I rarely decide things quickly, and I did. I first sat down with Tom and Trent and Betsy back in 2019 to talk about transition plan. And we were just starting. Tom and Betsy and Trent are our three most recent board chairs at New Day, so it felt like the team to talk about this with. And we were just starting to get traction when COVID hit. And so all that was sidelined, and it was hunker down and get through. And so we went 18 months of online church. And it's a testament to the deep relationships within this room that we were actually able to come through that at all and be here today, because there's just so much love and connection in this room. But before we came here to Dumas, I sat down with the leadership of New Day over at our office space at the Hub, and I was really candid at the time. I was like, I can't keep doing this the way we've been going. It's too much. And people, again, were very gracious and stepped in. And I realized also that I can't change much this far into how I operate. And as much as people can try to come alongside, I still revert back to my same patterns. But at that time, 3 years ago, we tried to ask sort of the existential question of who is New Day apart from Jeff and Karen? And that's a really great question. That was a really important question and almost an impossible one to actually answer with us still in the mix. We couldn't. It's like we're furniture. We're an old couch that's sitting in your living room, and you've had it for so long you can't picture the space without it until you don't have it in there anymore. And so what weighed heavily on our minds at thinking about stepping away was we just didn't know if New Day had the inherent strength to continue on after that. And, not to overinflate our own importance, that was just how it felt, going, can we do this without creating real damage? And even in the fact that was something that we were asking, in a way confirmed that this was the thing we needed to do, because nobody is intended to be the glue. No individual, no couple is created to bear that kind of weight. Church can only revolve around Jesus. Anything else, if we're making it revolve around people, then it's just like a cult of personality at that point. And so this question there of whether or not New Day could survive this became significant and also very telling. And as I wrestled with the thought of stepping down, I had two kind of conditions for God that I laid out there, some expectations of Him of what He needed to do for this to happen. One was that I really needed to know what I was being called next to, that, He had to drop some job in my lap or make these books take off, and so, I'd have that as being the next direction, something that told me where I was going next. And then also, I felt like, well, if He was going to do that, then I needed to know what was next for New Day. There needed to be somebody in the pipeline that I could, show the ropes and maybe have a little overlap and then pass the baton. Neither of those things materialized. And the need still felt pressing in, and yet God seemed to be silent on how do we do this? If these things aren't there, what do we do? And God seemed silent. These things, but it was what I would call a thick silence, because it was full of His presence. And what I want for this morning is not just to dump a big announcement on you or try to explain how we've gotten here. What I want is to testify to how God has been showing up and meeting us in this. Because as this process that now includes you has already begun, I hope that as you see what He's doing in our lives will be an encouragement to you and give you hope that He is the same God who is going to meet New Day in this process as well, as New Day embarks on this journey into the unknown as well. So I'm just going to share with you some ways that God has been at work. When we've been waiting and listening for God and not hearing anything, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a total absence. That even the quietness itself became the thing that caused us to begin to listen to our own voices in this. What God was saying a different way through our internal needs and wants, listening to our bodies. You know, they say the body never lies. And we could feel physically the need for this change to happen. We began to listen to His Spirit that we have within us and the wisdom that He's given us through this many years of life, rather than looking to an external sign to be the thing to point the way, to trust that He has given us something already that we can rely on and lean into. And a theme began to emerge in that for us, which was go before you know. This has repeated several times for us. Thinking about, and this happens all through Scripture too. You think about God calling Abraham and telling him, "I want you to leave your family and your home, and I want you to go to the land I'll show you." And so Abraham sets out, and he's never been to Canaan before. He doesn't know where it is or what it's like or anything. God prompts him, and he leaves, and then God shows him as he is going. And I began to realize that I needed to separate out the decision to step out of New Day. I needed to make that its own thing, independently of whatever was going to come next. That I needed to trust God with this piece and then wait on Him for this other piece, which, as it turns out, God hadn't been as silent as I thought afterward. Not only examples through Scripture, but I had actually gone to meet with a pastor several years ago up in Seattle to get his advice on this transition thing. And he said to me directly at the time, he said, you might need to step out before you see the next thing. And I couldn't hear it at the time. I couldn't take that. And so it wasn't that God was being so quiet, it was that I couldn't listen to it. And I couldn't listen to it because that was sheer terror for me. It still is. It's terrifying at times to go, who does that? At this age, who steps out doing something when you can't see what's next? And it wasn't just I don't have the security of income or whatever. It was tapping on the idea that I'm doing something really irresponsible, that this is foolish, that I'm stepping off a cliff and saying, okay, God, catch me. If you know anything about me, if you want to mess with all my anxiety, tell me that I'm being irresponsible, and that'll do it. And so, as I sat with that longer, God even began to meet me in that too, because the lesson I felt He had for me was that I needed to shift my trust from having my faith be in the certainty that I was making the right choice, doing the absolutely right thing, that this was 100% clear that God had commanded it and I needed to do this. And so, all the agonizing I was doing over making the right choice here to go, I needed to quit putting my faith in my own decision and go, actually, I need to transfer that faith to the God who loves me and has been faithful to me my whole life and through 22 years of New Day. And even if I've heard something wrong or I've not gotten this 100% right, guess what? He's still going to take care of me. He's going to take care of Karan. He's going to take care of New Day, because that's our God. That's what he does. It's what he has always done for us. And that I could quit going, I could say, I don't know whether this is exactly right, but I know who you are. I know who you are. I'll be the first to tell you that New Day is not where I thought it would be at this point in its lifespan. I assumed that people would be coming in droves, and we would be seeing all kinds of new growth, and these seats would be full. And I never thought that I would see the shrinking that we've all seen and felt, and going, what is that, God? And I assumed that if there was to be renewal and revival, that was going to be me. I would get to be the guy to kind of usher it in, and that's kind of an ego thing too, to assume that, and that it was my job to rebuild. But I went back and I read Paul's words to the church in Corinth, where he talks about how I laid the foundation here for this church, and then Apollos came and built on that. And it struck me that I've always kind of thought of my building at New Day as kind of going vertically, of always, helping New Day further towards completion, whatever that is, or moving, expanding, growing, all this. And I think I've realized that I'm a foundations guy, and I've poured as much foundation as I know how to do. And that's not to say that I've done it perfectly at all, by any means. I know that. And yet I have conscientiously made it my commitment to, week after week, bring the message back to the cross, bring the message back to the gospel as our foundation. And that has been set to a large degree, and I've passed that on to this congregation, and it's been fascinating even watching in being in this space that we have so much more dialogue, and I hear people say things that minister to me in each service, and I go, this congregation has embraced the foundation very well. You know it, and in that sense, there is a sense of my work reaching completion. It's solid. It's solid here. It's more solid than you know. Converge Worldwide, Converge Northwest is kind of the affiliation of churches that New Day's a part of. And back in June, the regional president for Converge came and visited a service here just to get a sense, knowing what was going on, just to get a sense of who New Day is. He picked the perfect New Day morning. It was slightly chaotic and wonderfully real and messy. I was so glad that was the day he was here, and we talked afterwards, and he visits a ton of churches, and he said, honestly, sometimes I don't like to go to other churches unless I'm speaking, because they can get a little cringy sometimes. But he said, there was nothing cringy about this. Instead, I found myself saying, holy cow, that was beautiful. I love it that was his response. Because I go, he got to see what this community is, the preciousness of it, the beauty of it that's here. There's something so uniquely special about New Day. And you might be here this morning going, yeah, well, you and Carter are just going to spoil it. You're going to ruin it here with this announcement. And you might have just felt like your motivation to be part of it is just evaporating with this. And like I said at the beginning, you're entitled to whatever you feel, whatever is your response this morning, it's all allowed. And it is possible that something that it does something significant like that to New Day. But it's not the only possibility. It's not by far the only possibility. It's equally possible that God, in His removing us from the scene, is using this disruption to spark something new and different. Because that's what He does. Isaiah 43, 18 and 19 were like theme verses for us when we started New Day back in the day. And they apply so well to right now as well. So going back to Isaiah, listen to them again. It says, forget the former things. Okay, don't get stuck on what New Day has been, the nostalgia, the sentimentality of looking backward. Don't dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. That wilderness, that desert, that place of loneliness and wondering where the direction is, that place where nothing seems to be growing, that's the very place where God does His new things. And I don't know what's going to come next for New Day, any more than I know what's coming next for Karin and I. Whatever it is, it's automatically going to be new and different. And God will be in it because His mercies are new every single morning. The shape isn't known, and nothing is a foregone conclusion in that. There's no pre-plan. There's no established thing in mind for it. It's not going to look like what it's been, and that's okay. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to. We can treasure and honor all the way things have been and the things we've shared without needing to preserve them like a museum or recreate the past in some way. And if God is doing something new, wouldn't you like to see it? Don't you want to perceive it? If that's true, what I know is that the gospel story is always one of death followed by resurrection. That's how it plays out. And it moves ever outward. And Jesus can transform even this desert-feeling moment into an opportunity to bring new life in places that feel dead in our hearts. So I'd like to ask something of you this morning, and that is this. As Karin and I are stepping out into what is arguably the biggest step of faith in our lives, would you step out in faith as well in this time? Can you give some space for this brief window of time that we have here together to see what the Lord might have for you and for New Day in it? You may be thinking, I'm out of here or whatever, but can you just give it a little bit of time? Shauna Nyquist had a post this week about back to school and talking about how disorienting it is for kids and how stressful it is, and how a friend of hers said, give it 6 weeks. Let them settle in, find a new rhythm, find their way. Just give it 6 weeks. Can you give some time? Let today settle in, but be part of the conversation moving forward. Last week, we had this quote from Bill that said, connection is how to be present when there's pain around. And there's definitely pain when there's change, right? And it can make us want to just run away. But if we can stay present. What I do know is the present is where God is. The present is where Jesus shows up and meets us in our pain. And there is something for us all here in this. And so I would just invite you to lean in during this time. If my preaching is part of what has attracted you to New Day, guess what? I'm here for almost 5 more months. Let's make the most of it, okay? Be here. I'm going to finish this race well. So come be part of it. If you really want to double down, come to Alpha. I'm going to do a lot of the live teaching there as well. Tuesday night, grab a friend. Come be part of that. Okay? Let's be in this together. The reason that I'm not just giving 2 weeks notice and then out the door is because I want to model what healthy transition can look like. It is an increasingly rare thing for a pastor to step down out of ministry of their own volition. Right? There's a lot of, I just read something this week about a whole string of pastors that scandals this summer that just devastated churches. I'm so grateful that relationships are intact and we can say how much we love this church. And to leave on healthy terms, that is a luxurious kind of sorrow. It really is. It's incredibly sad, but it is not tragic. And so I want to be here for that, and also to give some continuity while New Day gains new equilibrium, sorts through this conversation of what's coming next. In a few minutes, Trent is going to come and just say briefly some things to be expecting in the days ahead here. But today is not goodbye, okay? It's not. And we're going to have all the time we need for grieving the losses that go with this change, and also to celebrate all that we've shared together, because God has been so good and faithful. And if there's anything that we've learned over 22 years, is that this congregation knows how to come together to do hard things in an authentic way. And so I know that is going to happen again. And also, when we own and acknowledge our weakness, God shows up in His strength. And so we can look for Him. We can count on Him in that. My hope and my prayer is that even in the way that we go through this unknown valley together, that it'll bring honor and glory to Him, and that we will see our good shepherd walking out in front of us and behind us, and that this will give us one more incredible example of what it looks like to live out of being loved by God. Amen. I'd like to pray for you as we wrap up here. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for your faithfulness to this congregation. I know I have downloaded a lot of news here today that has a heaviness to it. And God, I'm sure there are people here who are feeling like they can't even imagine that you could do anything new, either in their lives or in New Day. And so, God, I pray for renewed hope for people today. I pray for healed eyes to see what you're doing when we can't see it. I pray for people who can sense those dead places inside them and can't imagine resurrection. Would you, by your Spirit, Bring that new life that we talk about all the time. God, let it not be just words. Let this next journey be so full of your Spirit that we can't miss it. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning. So my name is Trent Erickson. I know most of you, but for those of you I don't know, it's great to have you here today. Ta-da. Now I know you're probably first thinking, Trent's up here, he's going to make a joke about Jeff and his birthday's in 65 days. I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to do it. And it's just too easy to tell you that 506,000 hours, Jeff was born 506,000 hours ago. You were born, so not going to do that. It's too easy on a day like today. So thank you to both of you. Ecclesiastes tells us, right, to all things there is a season, and it's so easy to be sad. I think about what's hard in changes of seasons, right, is we don't like change, and things come to an end, or they're different. I was thinking about Bill Bedell, and Bill was a coach of our son's baseball team for a lot of years till he wasn't, and I was so sad when he wasn't Jack's coach anymore. But I'm so grateful that he was for so many years, right? And so for those kinds of things, it's so easy to get lost in the sad before you remember that, there's joy in it, or there can be joy in it. I was talking to my friend Kevin before church, and he and I have this cool brain connection, literally. And it's amazing that, we get handed things in life, and you can be sad by what you get handed, but then you can take a step back and say, and you know what, I was handed it, and here I am. And I didn't get the choice to get handed it, but I get the choice on what I get to do with it, right? And so as we think about these seasons happening and what it all means, it's super easy to be sad, and it's super easy to just, doggone it, I wish it wasn't going to happen. But we knew, really starting in 2019, it wasn't an if, it was a when, right? And so to be able to kind of find some joy in the journey is something pretty special. And so, thank you. I can't say it enough. And well done, good and faithful servants, both of you, right? What's this mean for New Day? Well, I don't know. And if I think about what it all means, this is where my emotions say I'm kind of excited, and I'm kind of scared, and I'm kind of anxious, and I'm all those things. And so we're just in the process of, we've been having conversations, moving this forward, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I think more than anything, I'm kind of honored and grateful for Jeff and Karen, because even if we think about what lies ahead for New Day, in their stepping out, they're demonstrating what lies ahead for New Day, because they too don't know what all this is about, right? And so you always have lived to all of us a model of how to do things well, and you're doing it now. So thank you for that. But coming back to the brain surgery thing, I can tell you, or the brain connection thing, I can tell you that Jeff and Karen are part of New Day. They started New Day with Derek and Meg, but they aren't New Day, right? All the people in this room are New Day. And I can tell you, when I had my surgery, I was so thankful for everybody in this room. Jeff and Karen were great, but there are a whole lot of people walking alongside. And so we collectively are New Day. Jeff and Karen have led New Day, and they've led it well, but we get to be New Day and decide what that means going forward. So what is next? Tom, Park, and Betsy Coffey and I have been talking to Jeff for 5 years or so, and Jeff mentioned, hey, conversations have been happening with the board since January, and it's super easy probably to say, wait a second, this has been happening since January, and we didn't have any little heads up here, right? And the story and the reality is, it wasn't our story to tell. If there were scoops or details or behind-the-scenes drama or something that was inappropriate, then, yeah, we need to talk about it. But there wasn't. And so the board really tried to hand this to Jeff and Carr and say, it's your story. We will walk alongside you. And that's what we've been doing. And so Jeff mentioned Converge Northwest. It's an affiliation of churches, about 195 churches in the Pacific Northwest, but part of Converge nationally and globally. So Nate Hedinger was here June 6th, and that's who Jeff was talking about. And Nate came and watched him. We didn't introduce him to anybody because we wanted him to just come and see, right? And so it's not, oh, let's everybody run to the star of the room and make sure he knows we're super good. And he got done with this and talked to some people and left and said, that is an awesome place. Jeff was authentic, but we all walked up to a new face and said hi and made him feel part of New Day, and that's pretty awesome. And so we've engaged with Nate and Kevin Holliger, both of Converge, and they're going to walk alongside us to help us lead us through a process, right? Because the process is scary. What's next? I don't know. We don't know, right? But what I do know is we need to pray about it. We're going to have conversations as a group, as a church. We're going to do some work around taking a survey to get some quantitative data, qualitative data. Right now, Kelly Lindell is going, yes, a survey. Yes! But ultimately, there's a process. Tom and Betsy and I and the board, I'm going to stay on the board. Tom and Betsy are helping lead a transition group that's going to work through that. Daniel LaTurner's agreed to serve on that, and a couple other folks are praying about it. We're going to have those conversations. And you say, well, can we have those conversations tomorrow? How fast is this going to go? We're working on a calendar, and we will get that out as quickly as we can. But I heard somebody say this a couple weeks ago, and I really love it. How fast are we going to go? We're going to move at the pace of trust. And if we can engage with each other and say, I know this, I don't know this, what do you think, what do you know? And let's be honest with each other. That's how quickly we can move through these things. So there's going to be a website that's going to be put up, or there is a website. It's called New Day. You should go check it out. Meg had it up there earlier. The church website's going to have a new section on it that talks about the transition and information that's up there, just so that people who aren't here today can know. And on that, we'll continue to post updates. There's a place that says, hey, click this button, and you can reach out and leave a name, number, and whoever, and Tom and Betsy and I will work on getting back to as very quickly as we can. What I would ask with all my heart, New Day is us, right, in February. New Day is not Jeff and Karin. And so Jeff and Karin are happy to be part of the conversations, but really, quite frankly, it's our turn to step into these things. So if you have thoughts about what New Day should be, what New Day's done, all that stuff, will you bring it to me or Tom or Betsy and not to Jeff and Karin? We just get to say, we get to celebrate you too. So that would be my big ask. Very last thing, the next 4 months, to Jeff's point, we're going to chart the path. We're going to have conversations. We're going to use all the very best of New Day to celebrate the Christmas season well. And I love the Christmas season in New Day. And then we'll use January to celebrate Jeff and Karin. So we don't need to make this a Mardi Gras parade where we're going to march for 17 miles to celebrate Jeff and Karin every weekend because I don't want to. And it's not about me, but Jeff and Karin have actually asked that as well. So let's just know that when we get to January, we're going to celebrate them so well. So thank you for everything.